everyone, I'm Dan.
And I'm Katie.
And we're from The Road Chose Me. And for those of you that don't know, we are right now inside of our Jeep camper that has a wonderful Goose Gear interior.
Welcome to our house.
So this is their latest Venture Series interior. And we've been living in this thing full-time for a year. We just drove it all the way across North America, shipped it to Iceland, a few months in Iceland, down into Europe, all the way down into Tunisia in North Africa. And then we kind of unwound the whole trip and came all the way home.
And we actually have a third member of our family, if you can believe it. So we also have a 2-year-old. So it's very spacious for a family of 3. But that's also a really important consideration if you can imagine having a baby/toddler in this space also. And it was incredibly cozy. We're all still one big happy family most of the time. And we loved it.
So we just wanted to talk a little bit about the interior here that Goose Gear built, and what we loved about it and what we would improve, and some things, if you're thinking about getting an interior for a vehicle, some things that you could think about or to prioritize in what you're doing. So this interior was designed by Brian at the team at Goose Gear. And the reason that I approached Brian and asked him to work with me on this was because they've been building interiors for 10 years now, and I've seen the quality of their workmanship. And I know, could I build something like this? It would be built to the nearest ½ inch. And would it be strong enough? Would it look this beautiful? Would I have been able to get into all of the corners and all of the precise details that they've done here in their construction? No, I don't think I would have. And so I wanted the best of the best, basically. And that's why I went to Brian and crew. And this is what they came up with. So you can see all of the interior structure is all hidden away here. It's aluminum framing with right angle corners, and then drawer slides, really slick cupboard designs, hinges that can be easily removed, and an enormous volume of storage space. Brian and the team worked to integrate our upright fridge. They made the cutout and mounted the induction cooktop. Same goes for the sink. And you can see we've got a huge amount of storage across the front. So overall, our goals for this were to have our center aisle here so that we can walk and live. Obviously our seating area where there's plenty of room for all of us to sit. And then Katie and I love to cook. And so we really did cook all of our meals for 3 people right here on this induction cooktop. So we would cook enormous pasta meals. Katie got really good at doing like whole chickens.
Yep.
Lots of rice, lots of pasta,
curries,
lots of curries.
Yeah, it was incredible. And it was a really pleasant kitchen to work. Like, there's actually a lot of bench space, and having this sink integrated as well, it was a really great place to hang out and to cook and to be at home. And so we absolutely loved this, loved them, and loved the design of this. It was so functional and a beautiful place to hang out.
Yeah, we really found whenever we'd invite people in to come and have dinner with us, they were really impressed at how warm it felt in here. Warm because of the timber, because it's all natural. I think a lot of vehicle interiors are made out of kind of aluminum or plastic covered aluminum, and they're just cold, and the corners are sharp, and you hit your knee and you scrape your elbow. Whereas this just feels cozy. It feels almost like a log cabin, especially when you turn on the diesel heater and it's warm in here and it's snowing out there. It's a really nice place to spend time, which when you're on the road for a whole year, it matters. You want to be happy, you want to be warm and feel, rejuvenated. You don't want to feel like you're just tolerating the trip.
Yeah, that was a huge part about going on the road with a 6-month-old. She was only 6 months old when we left home, and going to Iceland, we literally camped in this in a foot of snow. And just that idea of like having a space where you walk in and you feel like you're in a little house. And it was so clean and so warm. And I spent a ton of time in here also, nursing, playing with Aurora on the floor. I know these cupboards very, very well. And so it was just such a pleasure to have a place that looks so beautiful. Just like Dan was mentioning, like especially when you see a lot of parking lots and gravel roads, and sand and dirt, and so really, really beautiful to be in such a nice, happy little apartment. And
so a couple of the standout features that we think made the difference and really made it like the best that it could be. One of them is that, Goose obviously spend a lot of time camping themselves, and they've lived in and worked with these kind of systems and vehicles for a long time. So they know what works and what doesn't work. And a big one is they didn't put cupboard doors on all of these cubbies. We just put elastic stretchy on here. And that was a great way to cut down on weight, But it also is great because you can access things without having to ask someone else to move or without having a door that swings out. So you can imagine if every single one of these had a door, you know, you have to swing the door and it would be out here and it would be taking up all this volume and you can't see what you want to get at. So you start guessing at what's in each cabinet. And Katie had a good point about stuff sacks.
Yeah, they're really versatile, and so it was amazing how much stuff these cupboards kind of drank up. I remember packing for the first time being astonished, but we used them in a lot of different ways. So when you don't have stuff sacks, you know, we would put like our entire shoes down here, or, you know, Aurora has a lot of stuff, our baby has a lot of stuff for changing or playing, so you could just use them as they are, which is great, and she could then see those things and get those things if we needed to access them quickly. But the stuff sacks are great because that's how you can store your clothes, and then you can also sort things out knowing, oh, all of our rain gear is in this stuff sack, it lives right here, or oh, all of, you know, our kids' clothes are in this one, or our toiletries are in this stuff sack. And so that's awesome, and having integrated ones that actually fit the space would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, so the access was amazing. And as well as that, Goose obviously have spent a lot of time maximizing little cubby holes and storage corners and things like that. And so one of the things that's really difficult to see, but you know, when they look at building a system for a vehicle, they integrate into the floor where your rear seats would have been. You know, they work around all the curves and all the contours of the vehicle. And so something they did for us is they built extra storage cubbies up here, kind of behind the driver's seat. And this was an amazing spot to tuck things that I could reach while I was driving, or from outside the driver's door. So there's little features and little well thought out designs like that all around that make a difference to make the space as usable as it can be.
Another thing that was really helpful is that we do have a drawer, which is awesome, and normally how I think people think about storing things, especially for, you know, a kitchen. They had these removable sliders, which was great. We used them with the sliders in, which was awesome, super light. But down here, it's actually just open space. And so one of the things that we thought potentially in the future, if we did this again, we had slide in boxes, open boxes that you could pull out so that we could easily organize things. And then if you had a collapsible box, then you could still use the whole space if you needed to. So when we were shipping our vehicle, you know, suddenly we had access to a big wide spot to put, you know, a baby backpack or something like that. Versus day to day, if you want to use this for pantry items or, you know, extra gear if you're going hunting or something like that, you have that versatility if you had, you know, some extra kind of storage and sorting compartments.
And then one of the other things we noticed is that, especially with a young daughter, is everything got really dirty. You know, she had dirty hands, or we would be cooking and some oil would splatter or something. And so this drawer actually got quite stained up. There was a lot of olive oil that got spilt down in here, and, you know, our fry pan kind of made everything kind of gritty and black. And so on the advice of Brian from Goose Gear, I just took an orbital sander and just sanded off the tiniest little layer of timber, and it came up basically as good as new. This looks spotlessly clean. And so that's one of the ways you can just keep this looking as good as new. If you ever get a big scratch in it, or if you burnt it, or any kind of damage, you can just sand it back a little bit, put some oil on it, and then it's as good as new. So,
in terms of max packing your space as well, there's just space everywhere. So we actually installed a cutlery rack. As our daughter got a bit older, we also realized it's now baby proof, which is awesome. So just having extra storage space on the inside of these cupboard doors was super helpful. So you could also, you know, hang your dustpan up there, or if you have other tools that you want, this is like another way of using the space. And this is a massive compartment. Yeah, again, just incredible how much space there is. The last thing that we haven't talked about, these compartments underneath the seats are huge. And we use these mainly for storing camera gear, as well as all of our chairs. And we actually have a two-way compartment, so you can see we could access our chairs from the outside, but we keep, our child had a little, you know, high chair, so we could put that in there. It's very easy to access this from the door or from the other side, and a tremendous amount of storage space for maybe items that you don't need necessarily when you're cooking, but yeah, that you're using every day. So just a really slick, beautiful design.
And so durability wise, we definitely put this thing to the test for 12 months of full-time living, and not a single screw ever came loose, nothing rattled, nothing moved. So I think that's a testament, you know, to Goose Gear. Like I said, they've been doing this for a long time. They've driven a lot of corrugated roads, you know, with their interiors. So they know what they're doing. They know how to build these things strong in a way that will survive all those corrugations and all those thousands of miles.
And also having a small person climb all over everything constantly for a year.
So we hope you've enjoyed this tour of our Goose Gear interior. If you are thinking about working with them, you know, hit up Brian, hit up the team. They are really friendly people. If you're at a show and you see them, go over and say hello. They're passionate about overlanding. They're passionate about camping. And, you know, you can see they always bring different vehicles to the shows, so you can see the quality of their workmanship. And you can really just use it and test it out and see what you think for yourself.
Thanks so much, Goose Gear.
Thanks, guys.